प्रतिपोटितां भगवतां नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी.
But we start the second para, right? Ignorance is something that is opposed to knowledge.
Ignorance is something that is opposed to knowledge and can be destroyed by it, because it cannot be dismissed as non-existent, nor can it be accepted as satya. It is therefore something in between mithya. When ignorance is mithya, so is its product samsara. Neither of them has any reality for the kshetrajna and therefore does not in any way affect it, just as how the mirage water does not at all affect the desert with its wetness. The locus of a superimposition is not affected by what is superimposed upon it. So the kshetrajna, which is Atma identified as Ishvara, is not affected by ignorance or its product at any time. It always remains the same. Because the kshetrajna is identified as Ishvara, is also not a samsari. If kshetrajna is Ishvara, one may ask, why do people behave as samsaris? As Bhagavan has already said, the intellect is governed by ignorance, and because of that, people are deluded. Ajnanena muhyanti jantavaha. Gita, 5th chapter, 15th verse. Because of this, Bhagavan says, may you know me as the kshetrajna, kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi. A further question is asked here. If Atma appears as a samsara.
Okay? You are able to hear me?
Yes, yes, very clear.
Oh.
A further question is asked here. If Atma appears as a samsari due to ignorance, how do we account for the experience of the one who has studied the Shastra and is informed, yet identifies with only a given physical body, mind, etc.? The Shastra reveals that the whole universe is his body, if at all he has a body. Yet he conducts his life as though he has one given body of a particular nature. Why is this so? Shankara's response is to question the scholarship of such a person. If after knowledge a person were to think that he is circumscribed by a given body, mind, sense complex, what kind of scholarship is that? The ignorant person also has the same vision of himself. He may be a great scholar and have apara vidya, knowledge of linguistics and so on, but still we consider him ignorant because here we are talking about paravidya. If he is really a scholar in this sense and still refers to a given body as his body, it is only figurative, upachara, because his knowledge has sublated the reality of such a notion. We call it bhadita anuvritti. Now the objection is raised that if he sees himself as the kshetrajna, who is not subject to any change, he would have no desire to do anything in order to gain some enjoyment or better himself in some way. So he would have no desire. Yet Panditas have done a lot of work in the form of teaching, writing, etc., which indicates that they have their own desires for recognition and so on. If so, they are ignorant. If they do not have such desires and are aware of the truth of Atma, which is identical with Ishvara and not subject to change, how can they desire a change in Atma? Generally, one performs various actions in order to bring about a change in himself that will better his status in some way, either by getting rid of dukkha or by gaining some sukha. This is all based on looking upon Atma as a karta who engages in action in order to enjoy the result as a bhokta. Both enjoyment and action imply modification on the part of the subject. I must necessarily have the notion that Atma is subject to change. Now I am in one condition, dukkha, and engage in action in the hope that I will become a sukhi. This will then imply that it requires a change on the part of the subject. Whereas, if I were to know that I am not subject to change, how can there be any possibility of pravritti, engaging in action, or nivritti, giving up actions? Only when this doership and enjoyship are taken as the attributes of oneself can one desire to become different. This is the reason why I say becoming is samsara. If that very Atma to which the doership and enjoyship are ascribed is understood to be free from doership and enjoyship, all
so that particular situation is addressed.
knowing that the self is not subject to change, one knows that it is impossible for the self to be a doer, karta, or enjoyer, bhokta. This being so, it is not possible for one to engage in an action for the purpose of enjoying its result. The ignorant alone engages in all such activities, whether scripturally enjoined or secular. Only activities due to one's prarabdha karma remain, nor does one think that one is refraining from all activities. For that one would require will and a sense of doership, in which case Atma would remain a karta, engaging in nivritti karma. Krishna
So
has
there
already...
again, you cannot say, I will withdraw from activities. Even when you say I am withdrawing from activities, you are still a karta only.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that you don't escape that. Yeah.
Krishna has already said that inactivity is not actionlessness because there is an agent involved who desists from action. The wise man does not look upon this withdrawal from pursuit as an action on his part. It is a very natural thing for him because there is no condition of being the desirer of a result. He does not impose his will upon the body mind sense complex in order to make it stop. It naturally ceases like a pendulum, which after swinging to and fro finally comes to rest. Those people who have access to adequate Vedic knowledge and perform various rituals, though they are Vaidika Panditas, are not considered Panditas in Paravidya because they do not have the clear vision of Atma as being not subject to change. Then there are the dualists who, even after studying a verse in which Ishvara says clearly, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetresu bharata. O descendant of Bharata, may you know me as the knower of the body in all bodies. O the descendant of Bharata, may you know me as the knower of the body in all the bodies. Conclude that the jiva is not only other than Kshetra, but other than Ishvara as well, because he is very well known as Sukhi or Dukhi, subject to birth and death. But even the Dvaiti cannot accept Sukha and Dukha, so his pursuit is to resolve samsara and gain moksha. For him, the doership and enjoyship of the jiva, the world and Ishvara are all real. To get rid of samsara, he resorts to Ishvara, knowing that no other jiva can help him. Kshetra, according to him, is what is created by the Kshetrajna, who is Ishvara. According to him, the only way of being free of samsara is to go to Ishvara by propitiation to him. And the purpose of scripture is to give knowledge of Ishvara, Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Because the more you know about Ishvara, the more you can meditate upon him. And Shastra is required to know Ishvara because Ishvara alone can reveal himself. First you gain knowledge, Vijnana, then you make use of it by doing meditation, dhyana, in which you visualize Ishvara as described in the Shastra, and through his grace gain the qualities like beatitude, etc. of Ishvara, and finally go to heaven to be with Ishvara. And this is moksha, freedom from samsara. There are several...
This is the Dvaiti argument. This is a Dvaiti argument, yes. Put it across for our understanding. Yeah. But where is the difficulty in accepting this? Now he is telling.
There are several difficulties in accepting this. When the jiva meditates upon Ishvara, does he give up his condition of being a jiva or not? If he does, is the condition of being a jiva real or unreal? If it is real, how can he give it up? If it is not real, then you are accepting that There is only Ishvara and no Jiva in reality, and so duality is negated. If, on the other hand, the Jiva is real, whatever he gains will be in keeping with being a Jiva. We have a Tamil proverb that illustrates this. If your finger swells, it can swell at the most to the size of a lemon. It is not going to become as large as a pumpkin. Then too, Then too, when the cause for the swelling disappears, it is going to deflate again. Similarly, the jivas attaining the qualities of Ishvara will be conditioned by the limitations of being a jiva. A small wavelet, because of its meditation upon the ocean, cannot become more than a great breaker. Similarly, a jiva, a limited individual, no matter how inflated he becomes, is going to remain limited. Shankara calls such people lowly panditas, destroying what Shruti says and imagining what it does not say. In order to make the Shastra useful, the dualist thinks that moksha must be real and for that samsara must be real. Not knowing the consequences of this position, he destroys himself, says Shankara. If samsara is real, how is he going to get rid of it? Since he has studied Veda, logic and language and so on, others are going to look upon him as a scholar and come to learn from him. Being deluded, he will also delude others with the notion that the jiva is different from both the kshetra and Ishvara, and that you have to meditate upon Ishvara to gain what they call Aishwarya. That is moksha. Even though he has studied Shastra, Shankara says, he is devoid of the meaning of the Shastra that is held by the tradition Sampradaya. From the beginning of creation down to Vyasa and then to Shankara, there is a Sampradaya which states that the vision of the Shastra is that you are Ishvara. Only by following the Sampradaya can you get that vision. Without it, every sentence becomes different from every other sentence, making it impossible to get the total vision. A dualist selectively focuses on statements that can be interpreted to support his position and then struggles hard to justify his stand whenever he has to deal with statements like Tat Tvam Asi. No matter how hard he struggles, he can never establish Dvaita because it is not true, and at the end of it he gets nothing. He struggles so hard only to find out finally that he is a samsari. His original complaint was that he was a samsari, and at the end of all his inquiry, he concludes that he really is a samsari. Destroying what is said in the Shastra and imagining what is not said, not only are they deluded, they delude others too. The one to be resorted to solve the problem of samsara is the Sampradayavit, who understands that the jiva is uncreated and is not different from Ishvara, from whom all that is here and is not separate. All this is to establish the usefulness of Shastra, but the validity of Shastra, its having the status of being a pramana, is not established by saying that the jiva and so on are real. As a pramana, it must reveal what is anadikatha, that is, it should produce.
Anadikatha, what is not available elsewhere in other pramanas. Yeah.
Anadikatha, that is.
Anadikatha, yeah. Adhigata meaning what you get. Anadhigata from what you don't get. You don't get it from any of our general pramana, science and inference, pratyaksha, etc. You don't get it. That is why you get it from the Shastra pramana. The Anadhigata is Ishvara, Jiva, Ishvara, oneness. You get it only from Shastra pramana. That is what is called Anadhigata. Yeah.
It must reveal what is Anadhigata, that is, it should produce knowledge which cannot be gathered by sense organs and other pramanas based upon perception, and abhadita, that cannot be negated. If it can be negated, it is not jnana. The validity of the Shastra depends on whether it produces knowledge. When you say that there is a difference between Jiva and Ishvara, it is not something that you perceive. You do not see Ishvara as another person, because of which you conclude that he is different from you. So, by what means of knowledge do you establish a division? Swamiji, you do not see Ishvara as another person, because of which you conclude that he is different from you.
Yeah, nobody has seen Ishvara, no? Whether any Shastrakara or anyone, nobody has seen Ishvara. Then how can you assume that Ishvara is different from you? That's what he is trying.
So, by what
It is
means?
not based on valid knowledge. That's what he says. Do not see Ishvara as another person, because of which you conclude that he is different from you. There is no basis for your conclusion. That's what he says.
Okay. So, by what means of knowledge do you establish a division? You may say that you feel that you have a sense of individuality, but you cannot say that you are separate from Ishvara unless you see two individuals and identify yourself as one of them but not the other. If you say that between Jiva and creation there is a difference, we can analyze that and see how much of a difference there is. But if you say there is a difference between Jiva and Ishvara, when did you see Ishvara to arrive at this conclusion? Shastra is the only pramana for Ishvara, and Shastra says that there is no difference between the Jiva and Ishvara. Even the Jiva, as the one who indwells the physical body, has no particular form that you can identify and distinguish as different from Ishvara. Based upon form, it is not possible to establish a difference as we can between a pot and a cloth. What about establishing the difference in terms of property? A lump of camphor and a lump of salt are indistinguishable in form but have very different properties. Similarly, though there may not be any difference in form between Jiva and Ishvara, perhaps there is some difference in quality. The Shastra says that Ishvara is omniscient and omnipotent, and our experience of ourselves as individuals is of having limited knowledge and power. But the Shastra also says that Ishvara is free from all attributes and of the nature of Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. He goes on to say that Atma also is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma and is therefore not separate from Ishvara.
So what he says is, when you look at the Shastra, you must not be nitpicking. You must not be what is convenient to you take and what is not convenient to you drop. See, when people say Ishvara is omnipotent, omniscient, I am limited, so I am able to see a clear difference between me and Ishvara. But the same Shastra tells you that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma is your reality as well as Ishvara's reality. No, that I will not take. I will take only the other thing. Ishvara is omniscient, omnipotent, but I am limited. That is not correct. You have to know Shastra, you have to know it fully, thoroughly. Go through the whole thing and what it has got to convey. You should not be doing nitpicking. That's what he says, yeah.
The difference in knowledge, power and so on between Jiva and Ishvara does not establish a difference that can be established only when there are two different entities. If the two in truth are one and seem different because of the upadhi, that does not constitute a real difference. Ishvara cannot be a separate entity and still be omniscient, sarvajñatva, because a separate entity requires a body and a mind of his own. If he has a mind, he will have only one thought at a time and ignorance of everything else, and therefore cannot have omniscience, sarvajñatva. Similarly, omnipotence cannot be established if Ishvara is an entity separate from you, because then he does not have your power. Now,
so that is explained now. Yeah. Both omniscience and omnipotent explains that the Ishvara includes you. So there is no separate. That is why he is omniscient or omnipotent. Because it includes you. Your vibhuti also is Ishvara's vibhuti. So totally undifferentiated oneness between Ishvara and you. Because of that only Ishvara is omniscient. Then where is the separation? Where is the alienation? Then where is samsara? That's what he's trying to say.
Now he argues that though they are different, neither in form nor in quality.
One doubt here. Doubt means some confusion is there. If we say Ishvara includes us, then it becomes a Dvaita philosophy.
No, Ishvara does not. Ishvara includes us, meaning all the vibhutis of yourself is included in the Ishvara's vibhuti. Limitlessness, Ishvara cannot be limitless without you. So basically, you don't exist separate from Ishvara.
Okay, but Ishvara is omnipotent, omnipresent.
Yeah, Ishvara, you can say.
But we are not.
No, you can say that you don't exist, only Ishvara exists. Perfect. Ishvara Aham. Don't, there is no two entity. Advaita meaning there is no two entity, period. You are only in the sense whatever you are doing, it's all part of the niyati, part of Ishvara only. This is even your role play, whatever you really analyze, every movement, every cell in your body is ordained by the niyati, that is Ishvara. So nothing is really happening outside Ishvara. And even if supposedly you are like Guruchu chap separately like Kumar, Ramesvarananda and all, looks like that, that's all. There is no separation. It's all only Ishvara.
So we can say we are all franchisees. Ishvara.
No, that is all why you need to import a language, not necessary. Shastra is more than Aham Brahma Asmi.
We can't say franchisee, uncle, because franchisee gets a kind of considered revenue for the
Then you
business.
have to explain what is franchisee. Let us stick to that. It's all so very clear when this. He was saying Tat Tvam Asi, Tat is Ishvara, Tvam is you, and Asi is equation. Yes, definitely the equation has to be explained because then only it's called an equation. Otherwise there is only Ishvara. When there is an equation, in both sides have to be explained, which I have told before. 10 plus 3 equal to 100 minus 93. Both sides look very different. But the equation, once it is explained, becomes easy for the person to understand. In the same way, Tat and Tvam appears different, but reality is one and the same, Asi. That's what we are now in the Asi portion now. Tat and Tvam have already been discussed in the 12 chapters. Now we are moving into the Asi portion. You have to just see the oneness. See that Saman, the oneness is the objective of everybody, even a Dvaiti, I tell you. Even when he goes to Vaikuntha, he wants to be there, goes to Vaikuntha for what? He wants to be with Narayana. There again, if you find that there is a Taratamyam, somebody is more closer, he will feel jealous. He wants to next, he will do further tapas to become closer to Narayana. Finally, what? He will be sitting on one lap, another fellow will be sitting on another lap. So there again, he will not be comfortable. He will want both the laps. Somebody will be sitting in the heart. You want to go and sit in the heart. Finally, what? You want to be Ishvara. For you to, it takes so many births to understand that. So you go on doing that. Okay, keep doing that, doesn't matter. But the reality is, Ishvara is the only thing that exists. Second thing does not exist. That is the reality. See, in terms of Shastra, we are talking about the reality. We are not talking about a philosophy or a religion or a sect or whatever. Once short of understanding that, you can have a sect, grow into it. Nothing wrong in that. But that is not reality.
Swamiji, while going through this Vedanta, that the other day I read, whosoever worships a particular god, they will go to the particular world. If I am a Surya Upasaka, I will go to the Surya, I will go to the Surya Mandala. Chandra means Chandra.
You can do that. You can do all the tourism promotion is already there. You can go to Surya Loka, Brahma Loka, do all the lokas. Like people keep doing, no, all the way they want to go round. But you can do that. There is nothing. Nobody stops that. And Shastra also does not say, if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. But if you want to go for the jugular, you want to understand thoroughly at the end of all those tricks, what you want to achieve? Oneness with Ishvara. Now why you postpone it? If that understanding is there, Shastra itself talks about that. Why are you looking for other options?
Actually, it comes in the Gita itself, no, Swamiji. Even if you go to Brahma Loka, Brahma will teach you Atma Vidya and then send you back.
Same thing, same Tattvamasi. And you will say, you will feel disappointed. What to do? The truth is the same. So that's
it's like the story one man, Krishna Premi used to say, one man was in Boloka, he felt very bad that his lot of pavams and all was happening, and so they transported him to Vaikuntha. At Vaikuntha there was no satsangs and all that, only Swami lying down on the pasture on the snake bed, and people were just simply sitting and everybody just were doing meditation. He got bored and said, what is this Vaikuntha, so boring, no and no, nothing happening, no satsang.
Yeah, that is, see, you can have an eternal lunch. Eternal lunch means Swamiji will say, if you take the spoon, you will be eternally holding it only. Nothing will go inside. So that becomes eternal, no? So, eternal bhojanam with God doesn't help really. You will get bored. It's all theory. What I am trying to say, actually they don't say that. Even though Shastra everywhere, Gita, Upanishad everywhere, They say, okay, whatever you want to wear, you want to pray, pray, doesn't matter. Because you are so hell-bent on doing that, they don't discourage you. But that is how it is told. Even Shankara will say, that is how it is told, he will say. He will never, in his own Bhashya, he will never say that I say this. It is told that way. Wherever you go, you will get blessed and all that. Because there is no real, his own heart doesn't permit him to say that. Because it is all suboptimal solutions. When there is a real solution, Karavalamba, like உள்ளங்கை நெல்லிக்கனியை போல் இருக்கிறத விட்டுட்டு எங்கேயோ போய் தேடிட்டு இருக்கேன்னாக்க. Oh, that is how it is. That's precisely what. Even though Shastra tells all those things, but what we are interested. That is why the Purushartha Nishchaya is very important, which Swamiji has already told in the introduction. Purushartha Nishchaya, exactly what you are looking for in life. There should be total clarity in that. Everything else is Artha Kama Dharma. Moksha meaning oneness, freedom. Moksha is literally meaning freedom. Freedom comes by understanding. Understanding is Jiva Ishvara Aikyam Tattvamasi. That is only moksha. Everything else is dharma, artha, kama, including going to heaven or Vaikuntha, whatever. It's all parting, and it's all what you call suboptimal solutions. In the sense, there is always a beginning and there will always be an end. Just as you go to Vaikuntha, you will come back also. So there is one more Tamil proverb also is there. No, Panamachan Tirmiyonda, Pumanathoda, something like that. It's always there. So it's all there in the sense whatever you gain, you will always lose. So where there is no gain or loss involved, that is the reality. And that reality does not involve a gain or loss because there is nothing to gain or nothing to lose. There is a kala vastu aparichinnam, the being, the reality right now. All of us. That is the Ishvara Swarup. Ishvara cannot be anything different.
Swamiji, there is some confusion in understanding the difference between the Tattvamasi, that philosophy, and the one that I told, going to Surya Mandala and all. Actually, as you said, the Divya Desham is while we are alive. 108 Divya Desham we are going. Except the two, Palkadal and Vaikuntha, 106 we can see in this birth. After the departure of the soul, the Gita says that this particular Vedanta Sangraha, which I read, that also says if you worship Surya, you will be taken to the Surya Mandala. If you worship Brahma, you will go to the Brahma Loka. And if you worship Shiva Kailasha, and Vishnu means Vaikuntha. Different paths, and from there you should know this Tattvamasi. From there you again
exactly you have to know. That's what I'm trying to say. There again, what is the guarantee? That is only in the future. That is only what you call, it's only a belief. You right now what you understand is what is in front of you. It's only a belief you are propagating. No, that's what I'm trying to say. There is no way to verify. Yes, there can be a Shraddha and you can do it. Nobody will stop. And no Shastra will also stop. That's the one you want. But if you want to, if your understanding, if your reality, the Purushartha Nishchayam is moksha here and now, and that is a reality, why postpone?
Right. Either you go there and learn Tattvamasi or learn from here and go.
Yeah, so which is better today or 10 years later? Anything, suppose you are given an option that you will get it today if you do this. If you do this, you will get it 10 years later. Which you will prefer? I would like to get it today.
Yes.
That is an intelligent option. So that is what is available. That's what we are talking about. Shastra says, Gita says, this is already told. Here and now, you are Purnam. Bhagavan himself, the first 20 verses he has told. You are now clarifying. Arjuna is only clarifying whether his understanding is okay or not. That is why he keeps on raising some questions. Whether he raised the question or Vyasa raised the question, whatever it is only clarifying the first 20 verses. Na sato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha, upayor vidyashtantaha, dishtantaha, so anayoho tattvadarshibhihi. Sat never, what is changeless always remains. What's changing keeps changing. So both have to be clearly understood. As of now, right now you are changeless. Your reality is changeless. The changing is your body, mind, sense complex and whatever the Panchabhuta outside, etc. Everything is only what you perceive and conceive. Whatever you are carrying on your mind. Mind itself is not is only an instrument. It doesn't have an existence other than when you give existence, when you put a thought, it is existing. When you go to sleep, it doesn't exist. So, like 25% of your time, your body, mind, sense does not exist. Whereas you exist 24 hours, 365 days. And that is the reality, right? We already talked about that. And that he has already told clearly. This is all it is. Sat has no non-existence. Na sato vidyate bhavaha na abhavo vidyate sataha. What exists never has, not even for a phenom, it does not have any non-existence. And that is the reality, that is Tattvamasi, that is the reality of Ishvara and me.
Yes, Swamiji. And Vedanta Shankara goes on to mention that Vedanta Shankara, when reading, Kailasha, so far I know Kailasha is the Kailasha.
Very descriptively they will explain.
He also says Vaikunda is in the Meru Parvata.
All those things are there. There is a lot of literature available. You cannot, because you cannot disprove it, you cannot prove it. You have to take it at the face value, have Shraddha, and do the Upasana, whatever they are talking about, rituals and Upasana, with all the Shraddha, without, you will go there. No doubt about it. That's what they say, but nobody is going to verify it also anyway. But we are talking about verifiable, understandable, here and now, understanding the reality of you and I being one with Ishvara. So I would, what would you prefer? You prefer understanding rather than going here and there. That is the crux of Brahma Vidya, Tattvamasi, all Mahavakyas, all Upanishads, for that matter. Upanishads, Vedanta, and everything. We're talking about the here and now reality, understanding. Everything else is only an upaya. Even going to Brahma, as you rightly said, any loka is only an upaya, meaning a means, wherein you will go and learn, hopefully, Tattvamasi there. So we are interested in the ends, not the means. The means itself is, today's talk actually, the covering note is like that. See, as long as you seek, unless you seek, you don't get it, and as long as you seek, you don't get it. That is the reality. That is the covering note for today's video.
Okay.
Yes, Swamiji. Got it.
Yeah.
Similarly, the omnipotence cannot be established. If Ishvara is an entity separate from you, because then he does not have your power. Now he argues that though they are different neither in form nor in quality, they may still be two different entities, like two identical parts. Then Ishvara is also Jiva, going against Shastra, which says one alone and non-dual, Ekam Eva Advitiyam. It is only through Shastra that you know Ishvara, and Shastra gives no room for Ishvara being an entity or for there being any second thing. In fact, if you begin to analyze it, you cannot prove the existence of another object at all in this world. The existence of another entity is all from a different point of view. Let's stop here, Swamiji.
Yes, we'll do that tomorrow.
Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadayati Purnamesvarananda Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Shri Guru
Hari
Hari
Om. धन्यवाद स्वामी जी.
Om.
Om Swami.